Good afternoon and a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining this online event from data to destination, results and learnings from the OTDI-SEE project in the Western Balkans. OTDI-SEE stands for Open Tourism Data Initiative for Emerging Destinations in Southeast Europe. That is quite a big title, but it was also quite a big project. And for me, for us, it is an absolute privilege that we can share with you today the results, the learnings, some insights, some successes, also some challenges from this project that we implemented together with GIZ, funded by the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, in the Western Balkans, in the countries of Albania, Kosovo, North Macedonia, and Montenegro. And there we are. If I may quickly introduce myself, my name is Simon Reuter. I'm a Senior Research Partnership Manager for Outdooractive. Outdooractive is the world's leading platform for outdoor and adventure tourism. And we co-implemented this project in the region. This region, the Western Balkans, are in many ways a prime destination for outdoor and adventure travel, and we will hear a lot about this, but there were and still are also a lot of challenges, some of which we addressed within this project quite successfully, if I may take that from the beginning, but yeah, you will learn more about that in a minute. But for us as Outdooractive, venturing into this region with the project, with the OTDI-SEE, was a new step. We had not really been active in this particular region before, but there are a lot of organizations and people who have worked in the region on the development of outdoor and adventure tourism, on the diversification of economic incoming generation possibilities in the region for many, many years. We have brought some of these, or we have invited some of these partners from the region, from GIZ, from the overarching organization as well, to share a few words with us today. And before we dive deeper into the project itself, I would like to hand over the mic. I would like to give the stage to David Oberhuber. David Oberhuber is the country director of GIZ, or for GIZ, in Kosovo and North Macedonia, and thus, well, our partner in the implementation of this project. David, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Perfect. Hello.
Then I'm directly taking over. I'm very happy to be part of this event because I think this nature-based tourism is one of the main development opportunities in rural areas on the Western Balkans, and therefore this is a topic which is quite relevant for us here in the region. We are working in the region already since 30 years, since we started work in North Macedonia. In other countries we started a little bit later. But obviously economic development and employment was then always one of the key topics in the last decades, and the tourism topic was coming more and more because obviously the main population and the main employment is still in rural areas in the whole region. And what we also see is that there is a strong out-migration from rural areas, and that we need to develop alternative employment opportunities apart from agriculture. And therefore, this topic of tourism was always important for us to see what is actually possible in the rural and in the adventure tourism value chain. Where it started for GIZ was the Peaks of the Balkans mountain trail, where we had in 2023 20,000 tourists in the region, and where we have an estimated revenue in the whole region of 11 million euro. We have another long distance trail where we are working on with the High-Scardos Trail, which won the International Tourism Award in 2022. And what is interesting to see that especially after COVID, obviously this whole topic of regional mountain tourism and nature-based tourism was somehow picking up with much more interest than what we have seen in the years before. And therefore, we are very happy that we had this partnership with Outdoor Active. We had also partnerships with other partners in that region, one with Trails Angels in Austria. And this outdoor tourism partnership, was one of the key topics to bind that together for the whole region. And therefore, I'm now very interested to hear your summary, and not only the successes, but also a little bit of the difficulties and challenges for our future works, and to have an open discussion, what is possible, in which direction it should develop, and where also future investments in that field should go. I think we are a little bit of a innovator here with starting activities, but there are also other actors, USAID, also other international actors coming in. Italy was also via Albania coming into this topic. Therefore, I think it is also important to see what are potentials for the future, in which direction should support go in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David Oberhuber, for these very interesting perspectives. And yeah, I think we will take on a lot of these topics that you just mentioned. And as I mentioned before, this project we implemented over the last 4 years for us was sort of an experiment as well, venturing into development cooperation together with a partner like GIZ, and sort of bringing our approach to an emerging adventure and outdoor tourism destination, an emerging destination for nature-based tourism. And what made this very, very interesting for us is that sort of we could bring our approach, our possibilities, our means, but also our general interest as a company to the region in collaboration with the publicly funded German Development Corporation. And this was possible through a project or a program, a funding program called Develop. And I'm very happy that Marina Rivero Reimas is with us today. Marina was our main contact partner at Develop at GIZ. She has accompanied us through this project, and I hope, Marina, you can tell us a little bit more about this program, what it entails, and the collaboration models that it entails right now.
Thank you, Simon, for the introduction. And it's really nice to see and recognize a lot of faces in these 4 years that I've been working with Develop from the headquarters in the region. The region for me was actually quite new. I had a lot of experience with Develop PPPs and Honduras, Costa Rica, and Peru before starting in the headquarters. And for me, it's also been an adventure, and super happy and proud to be part of the team, and to hear today more about the results that has been achieved during the implementation of the project. But before starting with the interesting part, we would like also to present a few slides about Develop. Probably you are asking what kind of program it is, and what kind of companies does address. Develop PPP is actually one of the oldest programs from the BMZ, from the Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. We've been running since 1999. It means we are already 25 years old. So this year, this year is quite also an interesting year for this reason. And in a nutshell, what does develop do? The idea from develop, it's pretty much to create synergies, a win-win situation with partners of the private sectors and with the development cooperations, so that it's possible to find the interest between the private sector and GIZ in this case is one of the implementing agencies as it is DGA itself. And the idea is to overlap our interest to create synergies and to look to achieve our goals faster and stronger. Since the program has begun, I can tell you already, Simon, you can switch to the next slide. Thank you. That in these 25 programs, we have already achieved more than 1,200 developed partnerships around the globe. Now we are working in over 35 countries, and at the moment we have around 142 DPPs in an implementation, and the project is pretty much addressed to companies that want to invest and invest sustainably and developing in emerging countries. That's actually what we have been doing with OTDI-SEE in the Balkan region, and what we are going to see in a few minutes. And maybe the last slide before we jump into the example of OTDI-SEE, you are asking what are the focus of Develop PPP, and pretty much nowadays our current focus are the priority areas from our ministry. And we have from the topics from just transition or embracing feminist development policy till pushing back poverty and hunger or providing global health. And one of the topic that it's actually the topic that we are going to talk today, that would be digitalization also. So I don't know if we have, okay, that would be the last slides from my side. And then we start with the interesting part of the presentation. And this is only a slide in case you have more interest to discuss about Develop PPP after the presentation of Simon. And we can talk definitely in more detail. What are the criteria for the target group? How does the funding looks like? Or how long the duration for the implementation and the preparation of the project looks like. But I would propose let's jump into the adventure and this DPP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marina. But I have to disagree with one point, that the interesting part only starts now, because for us, of course, this is very, very interesting, because in the end, this is what enabled us to make this project a reality in the first place. And I believe we have some people from different organizations on this call, on this event today. And if you are interested to learn more about Develop, we are going to have a Q&A session at the end. So after we are done presenting you everything that we want to share with you, you have the opportunity to ask us what you want to ask us. And that includes, of course, all of the other speakers as well, not just us from OutDirective, but also Marina from Develop and the other colleagues from GIZ who will talk in a minute. You may have already noticed that currently you, as a participant of this event, cannot unmute yourself, and you can also not turn on your camera. We have a lot of people on the call, so this is just in order to sort of keep things a bit more organized. You all know how these things can go on during online meetings, but later during the Q&A, you will have the opportunity to unmute yourself if you raise your hand first, and then we will allow you to speak up, or you can then later ask your question on the chat, which, by the way, is an invitation. If there is already something that you want to know or a comment you want to make, you can always use the chat function of Microsoft Teams to make yourself, well, not heard, but read in this case. But yeah, thank you, Marina. And I think that was a perfect transition because, as I mentioned, for us, stepping into the Western Balkans with our approach was a completely new step. But as David Oberhuber mentioned, GIZ has been active in the region for a very long time. And I want to say one of the key drivers of tourism development within GIZ in the Western Balkans is definitely Anita Palazzo. Anita Palazzo has been an advisor with GIZ for many years, and she was also our main contact in the region right from the beginning. We will hear a little bit more about the beginnings of the project in a minute, but I think there's no one who's better equipped to sort of give us an introduction to the specific geographical region and to the specific local context that this project took place in, or that this project addressed. So Anita, if I may hand over to you for a little bit of background on adventure tourism development in the Western Balkans.
Thank you, Simon, and what an introduction. Thank you very much for this. I can't believe that 3.5, 4 years actually have passed by since we first started communicating on the topic. And I saw here in the audience also Benjamin Moore, that I would especially like to actually welcome or greet, because he was also next together. We were the sort of really persistent to get you on board in our cooperation. So hi to Benjamin. So as David mentioned, we have had a long presence in the region, and it will be very difficult to explain everything that we have done in the past 30 years. I must say, although we have never had a tourism-specific project, we have had many projects that have dealt with economic development, and tourism has always been a sector which one can find in the local or national strategies, and people simply in the region see tourism as a sector who can drive the economy. Simon, will you change the slides for me? So briefly, I'm going to focus on the last two phases of the regional project, support to economic diversification of rural areas, and on some of the activities that we did. Next slide. So we, as already mentioned, we worked regionally. We covered the Western Balkans 6 countries with more focus on cross-border regions. So one, Southeast Europe, or as we now say, Western Balkans 6, and more focus on the cross-border region. Now, if we move on the next slide, I will just briefly summarize. It was already mentioned that we actually support mountain, rural, outdoor adventure tourism. And I think that David explained sort of the background of this. And it is clear to us that especially in rural areas, and this type of tourism really bring lots of benefit. It is interesting just to remind ourselves that adventure tourism, according to statistics, leaves 66% of the turnover to the local communities. So very important for local communities. So in our work, we have used a value chain approach. And I'm very proud to say that we have worked in very close cooperation with the private sector, especially tour operators. We wanted to know if they're selling something, why they're selling it, if they don't sell, why they're not selling it. And really, I like to believe that GIZ normally works demand-driven, and this was the case again here. So our usual instruments of support, capacity building measures, training offers, qualification measures, study trip, exchanges, networking. But we also, together with our partners, SWG for Standing Working Group for Regional Rural Development, we have run on several occasions grant schemes and also local subsidies. And through this measure, we actually try to improve the conditions for this type of tourism in the region. So we can summarize actually our activities in several areas, and we have worked quite a lot on product development. We have worked on access to market and promotion, standardization, qualification, education, and very important for us and our work is this regional cooperation networking. I will now give you some examples of the work that we have done. On the next slide, you will see some pictures. Just to say, when we talk about improving, we have worked a lot in improving tourism infrastructure. And we see here some examples of via ferratas, let's say, in the region, in order to diversify the offer. Very much on hiking and biking trails, it was mentioned. We even connected archaeology with mountain tourism. Here in the Ohrid region, we had we supported a project that uncovered parts of Roman ancient roads. Of course, part of the support has gone a lot to small accommodation facilities and catering facilities, because they are an essential part of the tourism product. And while talking about products, I would like to move on the next slide now. As it was already mentioned, our really example of which we are all proud of is Peaks of the Balkans. Which is noting now great success. And even I must say that even in some parts, people have started to talk about over-tourism in some parts. But based on these interventions and support that we actually marked and signposted hiking trails, and even, believe it or not, almost 900 kilometers of them all together with our partners, we have actually tried to replicate the Peaks of the Balkans project, and worked on 2 more projects which have this transnational character. One is Balkan Hiking Adventure, and very much the High Skardus Trail, which is now popular, and we are all focused. Immediately, I want to say here, it's interesting that in all these projects we have developed PPP cooperation. Peaks of the Balkans, as far as I know, Deutsche Alpenverein, the Summit Club was involved, and we are very actually glad that we managed for High Skardus Trail product to additional to Outdoor Active, also to actually have a project with Trail Angels, as it was mentioned before. When we talk about transnational products, it becomes very obvious that we need to have similar standards. So we believe in the idea that people travel in the region and they say, oh, I flew to Kosovo, but I saw also Albania and North Macedonia. But we are all aware that standards should not differ so much. So therefore, our concentration has been also to introducing European standards and harmonizing standards in the region. Recently, a month ago, and I want to congratulate, because I think we have someone in the audience as well, like there were an initiative that started with GIZ training of professional mountain guides here, first in North Macedonia, and then the standard was spread in the region. I was more than happy to see that a month ago we have the new UIMLA guides, the first ones in Kosovo, in Albania. There is an association already formed in Kosovo, and that we actually managed to spread standards from one country to another. Very important now, like we have worked also on safety and risk management, which was also a developed PPP project with the UK tour operator Explore Worldwide, which actually contributes a lot to adventure travel, because adventure without safety is unimaginable. And very much now, very much in focus is greening of businesses, sustainability standards, or shall we say, evidence-based sustainability practices. We are currently supporting tour operators, which to actually get this certification and increase their competitiveness in this way. With one word, I would say, when it comes to the standards, we have now like Western Balkan Association of Adventure Travel, and one of the subgroups actually works on standards and unification in the region. And talking about Western Balkan Association, and our constant concern that whatever we do, it has to sustain itself and remain to function in the future. We are also, we facilitated together with USAID establishment of this Western Balkan Adventure Travel Association. But also when it comes to High Skardus Trail as a product, I'm glad that we now have a trilateral destination management organization, DMO, High Skardus Trail, which was, Simon, next slide if possible, which was registered in Kosovo. On top of that, like sort of qualification measures, obviously we won't have time to actually to mention them all, but just to say in the past couple of years in CEDRA 2, we have had almost 10 different courses together with our partners and at least 500 participants. Very important that I want to mention here is also the new Atingi platform that GIZ has, which offers really wide spectrum of training measures. And this is actually being very much promoted now in the region as platform that can actually help people to raise further their capacities. So if we can move on, please. One more, because we already spoke about this. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of different things. And we always in the team used to like to say that we really should try and connect the dots. We were trying to connect the dots with our activities, but also very important, we were trying to actually maximize our impact through establishing synergies. So I already mentioned the develop PPP projects that we had. I also want to if we see now if we take High Scardus Trail, let's say as a project, we see synergy between regional bilateral GIZ projects. We see private partnership. We have had cooperation with other donors as well, and I'm very proud of it. To go back now, so this was the background. So we knew we have achieved a lot. We had many positive results. But one of the greatest challenges was promotion and visibility of the region. Maybe we local, we know our region, we are proud of it, but internationally we are still an not known destination. So we already knew that there is a limited brand recognition, so Western Balkan is not recognized internationally. We have observed that there are very limited budgets and for promotion, and even if there are some budgets, promotion is not coordinated. Lack of missing destination management organization, which makes work much more complicated. Adequate capacities, and as we know, insufficient digital presence. And this came like sort of this, I think, speaks for itself that we actually were really determined to bring on board somehow a platform and a company as Outdoor Active, because we really believe that with a cooperation and a project with Outdoor Active, we can make the Western Balkans from unknown to unforgettable destination. So I will not go further. I think that Dominic will take over from here to explain a little bit how we came to the cooperation, but I stand ready to answer your questions later in this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita, and thanks also for already transitioning to our next speaker, because I think this is exactly the kind of background knowledge that was very important for us right from the beginning. We got that from you and the other local partners. I have to say that I myself, even though I took the lead on the OTDI-SEE project later on, I was actually not a part of initiating this project, because it was entirely thought up and established by other people. And the key person to talk to here is my colleague, Dr. Dominic Huber, who's also part of the Outdoor Active research team, just like myself. And Dominic can tell us now a little bit more about how this project started and sort of what first challenges we had to overcome in order to get it on the road.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you very much, Anissa, for your introduction as well, because it kind of saves me a lot of time to explain a bit in more detail what I had in mind when I initiated the project, actually. So I'm working with Outdoor Active since 5 years. I'm a senior research manager, and I have a scientific background. I always had the objective and my personal intrinsic motivation to work to help local people in the tourism developments, and to make local populations and local communities to benefit better from tourism. And when I started my work at Outdoor Active, I thought, well, that's a great opportunity to use digitalization and technology to kind of fulfill that goal. And what I did was to screen first the internet, what projects may be interesting and relevant for such a project, and came across the Leverest web page in April 2022. It was where I found Anisa's advertisement about foster Mountain and Adventure Tourism in the Balkan region. I thought, well, that sounds quite right, and that sounds quite what I had in mind when I started with Outeractive to initiate a research project with emerging countries. I got in touch with Anisa. We developed great visual ideas, and at that time together with Benjamin Moore. That was quite of a journey, which took us quite a while as well, because to translate everything that Anisa said just before and the ideas I had and the opportunities we had with technology, to translate that in a research objective or in a project objective and into indicators that are quite important for GIZ projects, of course, that took us almost 1.5 years before we actually could start the project. And just in a nutshell, the project objective that we then developed was to was the digitalization of the tourism promotion of Southeast Europe is enhanced. That's pretty much aligning with what Anisa just said before about their goals of the organization and the indicators. Just to keep that in mind for later when Simon will talk about the results, was more than 400 digital tourism contents are developed. We increased the visibility of the region digitally by 50,000 page views, and we train and coach more than 150 local people within the region. So that's, we thought, quite ambitious actually. That's what we had in mind when we started the project. What then happened was that we had a change in our company structure, and when all the funds started with the actual project starts, Simon came along to support our research team. And then I really have to say that we couldn't be luckier to have him on board for our research team, and especially for the OTDI project, because Simon not only has great knowledge about sustainable tourism development, but he also has experience with GIZ. He also has experience within the countries. He even speaks a little bit Albanian, so that was a really great fit. Apart from that, he has such great skills in coaching and creativity, creating texts, visuals, and technology, using technology for all that stuff. So that was really fantastic and really good that we had him on board then. And just to provide a bit of more private and personal perspective on our future journey, I wanted to show you a couple of images which kind of describes our journey throughout the project, throughout the next 3.5 years. As you can imagine, you kind of build a relationship with the region and with people throughout the 3 years project, and I think those images quite reflect that very well. It was kind of a dangerous journey by times, even though Simon, he got out safely from that situation, but we were also quite busy under difficult circumstances as well. When we started the project, it was already the pandemic, the corona pandemic, which kind of was a tricky thing for us to work there throughout more than half of the time, because we had those travel restrictions. That was kind of difficult for us, of course. Just going back to the image before, that's one of the heaps of seminars we conducted throughout the project in several countries. Sometimes we felt quite tired. We spent a lot of time in our car, but most of the time we had really great fun throughout the project and really enjoyed what we did. And I think that's one of the success factors for our work. The more fun you have, the more success you have. That's what I believe, at least. And we also met lots of people, lots of highly skilled people in terms of local tourism development, in terms of driving skills. The picture here in the car, I never imagined that we actually could arrive at that place where we actually arrived with a car. That for me, it wouldn't have been possible, but this guy was just amazing when he brought us there. We had lots of fun with Kirsi and Marietta, who are specialists in mountain guiding and sustainable tourism development. And of course, what you never can miss in a project in the Balkans is to have someone who you can drink raki with and having great food in form of a trout. So that's why I brought, this will be my last official role in this project. I brought here some rakis. Unfortunately, you can't really see it, but that's a bottle of raki, and I will have after our meeting with Simon a raki on our 3 years project. And now I move forward and hand over to Simon. Thank you very much.
Shumfalem there, it's Dominic. I have to correct you a little bit. My sheep is Shumpak, so I only speak very, very little Albanian. But Gezur for your rakia later. And unfortunately, Dominic and I are not in the same place right now. I'm actually joining you from South America, so I cannot have a rakia with him. Oh, he's already starting. So at least we learned the most important parts during the project. Yeah, thank you so much for this introduction to you, Dominic, but also to Anita, to Marina, to David Oberhuber. We heard a lot already about sort of the local context and the challenges, and I just really quickly want to sum them up in this highly oversimplified illustration that we have here, that to me sort of sums up the problem that we were trying to address. Because for anybody who has visited the Western Balkans or actually lives there, knows that this region is an absolutely incredible destination for outdoor and adventure tourism. You have mountainous terrain that is simply awe-inspiring. It's stunning. You've got gorges, you've got summits, you've got valleys, you've got rivers, you've got rock that you can climb, you've got hiking trails for miles and miles and miles. So many activities that you can do there, and there's also the cultural aspect of these rural areas that see these beautiful little villages. Many of them struggle strongly when it comes to economic development. A lot of young people move away, but for tourism or for adventure tourism, for hiking, for cycling, mountain biking, trail running, horse riding, river rafting, these areas are in many ways absolutely perfect. But the problem is that you have a lack of visibility, and this sort of becomes this vicious circle. Because you have a lack of visibility, you sort of have a lack of international visitors, and international visitors bring the revenue that you need in order to continue to build up tourism, to build tourism infrastructure, but also to manage tourism successfully, because you also need destination management and marketing organizations, and they need funding. And in many cases, this funding unfortunately does not come from public sites, but there's also not enough revenue and not enough money in tourism in the region, at least in outdoor adventure tourism, to fund these organizations through third parties. So you sort of have a situation in which destination and offer development is not feasible, which then again leads, to a lack of, let's say, formalized offers, especially away from the highlight destinations. You have these success stories like the Peaks of the Balkan Trail that are now attracting tens of thousands of visitors every year, but they are sort of these well-known, established highlight offers, sort of. But then you go one valley to the south, and you can basically spend all summer there, and you're going to see a handful of hikers in the direct vicinity of these highlight destinations, these highlight offers, but sort of you do not have a situation in which the success of outdoor tourism development has spread out evenly through the area. And this lack of functioning destination management and marketing organization leads to a situation in which the stakeholders, the ones who are driving the development of tourism, because they offer guided tours, because they offer tour packages, because they run an accommodation business in the mountains, a gear rental, there are so many local private sector actors who really contribute to the development of outdoor and adventure tourism development in the region, but they are sort of left to fend for themselves. There's nobody who does the marketing for them, so they're going to have to do that on the side. And that is also automatically going to lead to a situation where you have really fragmented marketing messages, where you sort of lack a joint brand that is then successful and that is renowned. And if you go to any of the target source markets of adventure travelers venturing to the Western Balkans, countries like France, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, Great Britain, the Netherlands, and you talk to people on the streets there, what they associate with the countries of the Western Balkans, your first response is usually not going to be, oh, well, this is great hiking. You know, oh, this is a country of beautiful mountains. They're going to associate other things, and that is due to a lack of unified, joint, good promotional messages. So the approach that we had here is that we said, okay, well, first we have to sort of accept the situation. We, as a tech company in outdoor and adventure tourism, we do not have the means to build these destination management organizations. We do not have the means to build networks and organizational structures that can do all of this joint promotion, this brand building. But what we can do, because of who we are, and I'm going to show you in a minute what that means, is we can enable all of these local stakeholders, all of these individual guides, tour operators, accommodation providers, and so on, to get their promotional messages seen by the adventure tourism world. We can enable them to get a lot more reach for their offers, for their destinations, so that at least we sort of put these destinations on international adventure travelers' map. And the reason we can do that is because of who and what we are. Outdooractive, I mentioned this in the beginning, is the world's leading platform for outdoor and adventure tourism. It provides the most advanced digital features for the digitalization of outdoor tourism offers, but also gives travelers, outdoor enthusiasts, the tools and means they need to have amazing, safe, and enriching experiences in the great outdoors. And what makes it sort of special is that technically every local stakeholder in the Western Balkans or anywhere in the world can directly contribute outdoor tourism content to the platform. And it will be published through the platform, and it will be published through partner platforms, through other channels, and it can generate an enormous reach among the most relevant target groups worldwide. Because Outdooractive currently has over 15 million registered users, and we reach about 60 million individual users worldwide every single month through our product. And these are not just any people, these are people who live to be in the outdoors. They're hikers, they're mountain climbers, they're rock climbers, they're cyclists, mountain bikers, river rafters, people who enjoy being outdoors and who travel to other places in order to explore what they have to offer in terms of adventure and outdoor tourism. So if you get all of these local offers, the trails, the points of interest, the offers for guided tours, the accommodations, everything that somebody can experience in the Western Balkans, if you get all of them on the platform with the help of local people, local stakeholders, then you can reach the adventure travelers of the world with this content and hopefully change the image of the Western Balkans and make it a well-known outdoor tourism destination. So here is how we approach this. Here is how we wanted to get this done. One of the first big activities that we envisioned was to hold multiplier workshops. So what we did is we visited specific points in the 4 countries of the project region. So to remind you, there was Albania, North Macedonia, Kosovo, and Montenegro. And we invited local stakeholders, key stakeholders, people who have been active in the development of outdoor and adventure tourism for a longer period, and who've really contributed there. And we wanted to introduce them to the platform, to the opportunities of digital platforms, and to this particular approach that we envisaged for the region. 4 of these stops we did as part of a roadshow in November 2022, which was a really, really exciting time. We got some support from a moderator from Eberswalde University, Professor Dr. Claudia Brützel, who joined us. And of course, we met a lot of the people who are here on the call right now. But we also had some other networking events. And the idea there was that we would reach the key stakeholders who would then sort of act as multipliers for the approach, who would tell others, their employees, their staff, their business partners, people in their municipality, in their region, other guides they know, that they would tell them about this approach, about this opportunity, so that we can raise some awareness for this idea and for this opportunity. And then sort of in a second step, we took it up a notch, or we scaled it up a notch, and we, together with a partner from Albania, Elite Travel Group, and their capacity building department, Elite Academy, to create online trainings. We ended up creating a curriculum for a 9-hour online training, split up in 6 sessions, 1.5 hours. And we invited outdoor tourism stakeholders. And this was really broad. So this was from experienced guides, people who have owned accommodation businesses for ages, to students, who really wanted to get started in the field. And we invited them to register for this online training. We told them if they completed a sufficient number of courses and they would training sessions, and if they would successfully pass an exam in the end, they could also get a certification, and they could become certified outdoor tourism content creators. So this training course was developed, it was implemented, and we reached over 129 people. So technically we reached over 400 people, but as you know, not everybody then ends up joining every session. So we could safely say that people who have attended most of the sessions, most of whom also completed the exam in the end, we have definitely at least 129 fully trained outdoor tourism content creators in the region now, which is a really, really big number, and it surpassed our highest expectations. Through the multiplier workshops before, I forgot to mention that we reached over 100 key stakeholders, probably even more, because at least one of these multiplier workshops, we did not take an attendance listing, which in hindsight is something that you always have to do when you do a GIZ project. Always keep attendance lists, very, very important. But yeah, so 100 multipliers, 129 people trained through the online trainings. And through that, we noticed that we had a lot of these very, very active businesses in the region, and some of them had some really innovative ideas, and they were interested in gaining access to more digital tools. And so sort of towards the end of the project, we added a new component to the project that had not been part of the original plan, but we were able to do that without extra cost, and that is the Trailblazers program. The Western Balkans Trailblazers program, it was sort of the idea to experiment with a scholarship-like program in which we made an open call businesses. So we limited in this case to tour guides, tour operators, and accommodation owners. They could apply to be part of this project, you know, through their motivation, their digitalization skills, and so on. And our directive offers a number of very, very advanced digital features for professional organizations in tourism. So digital tools that they can really use to enhance their visibility, to faster, better, and more securely create their new offers, develop new trials, new guided tours, and to also sort of give the guests the kind of experience, support them with digital tools, so that they can have the best time in the destination. And we ended up selecting 20 of these innovative adventure businesses. Those were all medium and small enterprises. And they will now receive free access to these very, very advanced features for 2 years. And we also give them additional technical onboarding, support, advice. We work with them a little more closely. It's sort of, yeah, this scholarship program, as I called it. One aspect that was already mentioned is that at the same time, and this is sort of a coincidence that the time leaders worked out quite well, this new flagship product for the region was developed, the High Scartus Trail, a trail of several hundred kilometers length that runs from the north of North Macedonia through Kosovo and Albania all the way to Lake Ohrid on the Albanian-Macedonian border. While we were not instrumental in developing this trail in the first place, we had the means to make it digitally seen. And you're also going to see this in a little while when I show you the website that was created there, the online portal. But we had a really, really good collaboration here with Trail Angels. Trail Angels is an Austrian company that offers, well, on the one hand, booking solutions for long distance trail experiences, but at the same time, they also have some of the best knowledge when it comes to developing these thematic trails, these long distance hiking trails or cycling trails. And they really brought that experience to the region. We supported through the digitalization of that. I actually ended up helping with the restructuring of one of the stages because there was a little bit of a misunderstanding with the national park in Ohrid. Yeah, it was just for us also a really great experience to work that closely with a newly developed flagship offer for adventure tourism in a region like that. The High Scartus Trail was actually awarded the Best Europe Tourism Project at the International Tourism Awards in 2022, and it gained a lot of visibility. I'm going to show you a little bit of that later. Another sort of side thing that we did, but it ended up also being very, very important to the project itself, is that we decided to conduct a number of studies and do a little bit of research. So Dominic mentioned before that we are the research department at Outdoor Active. He has a scientific background, and we usually engage more in research and science-oriented projects than in these implementation-oriented projects. And we have built a number of great collaborations with universities, most in this case, all of them in Germany. And we conducted a number of studies together with them. One together with Hochschule Heilbronn on the influence of female athletes for the popularity of outdoor sports in the Western Balkans. Very, very interesting, a topic that was also brought up during a conference on outdoor tourism and adventure tourism in Montenegro a few weeks ago. We did a study together with Hochschule Harz on the image of the Western Balkans as adventure travel destinations, to better understand sort of what we need to work on in order to make these destinations, these regions, an attractive target, an attractive destination for travelers from the most important source markets. And then probably the biggest study that we conducted was together with Eberswalde University for Sustainable Development, together with the GIZ SDR project in Albania, where we really wanted to take a deep dive into the economic impact of the peaks of the Balkan Trail. A tourism offer that has existed for over 10 years, and that everybody sort of deemed a success, and everybody said, well, there are a lot of people on the trail now, but nobody had the actual numbers, nobody had the actual statistics. And we always claimed, or it was often claimed, that this kind of development helped also with the economies in the region, but we had no idea to what extent. It was all just feeling. So we got together with two researchers from Eberswalde University and a professor, with the help of GIZ Albania, we placed a sensor on the peaks of the Balkan Trail to count the people, and then surveys were conducted among the hikers and among the guest houses. And in the end, it was determined that roughly 20,000 people hiked the trail in 2023, and they contributed to the local economies with over 11 million euros, which really shows that this kind of approach can be an absolute success model. But it also shows that it is important to sort of keep a monitoring on that and to really know and get a better understanding of sort of where the investments are worthwhile, and what can be done to avoid also issues like overcrowding, but at the same time get the most positive impact out of these approaches, of these ideas. And then one last point I want to mention, and this is probably one of the most challenging aspects, is the topic of organizational development and networking. So as I mentioned, you have all of these stakeholders, these private sector agents who really, really contribute and who have built outdoor and adventure tourism in the region in the first place and are continuing to build it. But we have this lack of sort of strong organizational structures. And that is something that we have struggled with right from the beginning, that we sort of didn't quite know whom to talk to, who could really give us access to these people. It seemed like a lot of groundwork, just approaching individual stakeholders over individual stakeholders. And since you do not have strong destination management organizations in most places, there are a few exceptions, but in most places you do not have them, since the national tourism organizations do not really support this kind of work. There's really a lack of these organizational structures, of these networks that can take over the branding for the region, the promotion of the region, that can set these standards. Anita mentioned this in her presentation earlier, and I full-heartedly agree. So we were really, really happy that the development or the establishment of the Western Balkans Adventure Travel Association, an association of adventure tour operators from the 6 countries of the Western Balkans, went forward last year. It sort of became official in 2023. We were there and sort of tried to support this. We also wanted to hand over a lot of the things that we had developed in terms of online marketing to this organization, so this organization can really function as sort of this marketing body for the Western Balkans, for adventure travel in the Western Balkans as well, internationally. I have to say that while this in many ways is a success story that it exists, we can also sort of see how challenging it can be, because the organization currently really struggles with funding, and it's becoming increasingly difficult for them to really create much of an output. They do amazing work, but they struggle. And so we were not able to hand all of what we wanted over to them, even though there was a lot of interest, but it was simply a matter of available resources at the time. So I believe the next big thing to focus on among many, many other things, but one big thing to focus on when it comes to adventure tourism development in the Western Balkans, which can be such a big success model, is organizational development. We need destination management organizations in the region on a local level. We need national tourism organizations who really support this, and we need transnational collaboration between the countries to promote the Western Balkans as a region, as a destination itself, with a joint brand and with support to the local agents, the local stakeholders who drive this development. Yeah, so what did we actually achieve? Let's look at some numbers. What were some results? What were some outcomes of this? We kept continuous monitoring during the project to see sort of how much digital tourism content, so we're talking about route descriptions, trails, points of interest, offers, how many of these things were digitized through the local people that we worked with. And I'm not going to talk about all of these numbers in detail here, but what you can see here is sort of a breakdown to, with the dark blue, the region as a whole, the amount of published routes, so that's what we call trails on Outdoor Active, and then in the individual countries. And the purple line that you see going through this is the amount of page views this generated. So how many people were checking out this kind of content? And you can see that there was a continuous uprise, and you can almost sort of also see sort of when this started picking up after the outdoor tourism content creator training in the early months of 2024. You can see that it got another, it really started going through. And I'm sure if we look at these numbers again, 6 months from now and 12 months from now, we're going to see that this might actually start rising almost exponentially, which is amazing. The same is true for points of interest. So this includes anything from restaurants, hotels, but also viewpoints, mountain summits, beautiful lakesides, literally anything that can be of interest to an outdoor and adventure traveler. And to give you the hard numbers, over the course of the project, over 1,960 route descriptions were digitized. So almost 2,000 new trails, if you want so, are now available in the region. Among them, 463 so-called top routes. This is what we call content that is really high quality. So we say this is well done, and it's really it's great to interact with. It gives you all the information you need. It's an attractive thing that can promote a particular destination. What that means is that in comparison to before the project and what we had on the Outdoor Active platform, we have over 3 times as many top routes available than before. We have over 720 points of interest now digitized, which is an increase of over 90% from before the project. We have over 1 million page views on the new content. And that is maybe the most important number. Maybe you remember what Dominic said in the beginning, that we set some indicators and we wanted to increase the visibility of the region by 50,000 page views. This is 20-fold what we expected or what we were hoping for. So you must imagine that 1 million people looked at this content. There might not be 1 million individual people. Some of them might have looked twice, but there must be hundreds of thousands of people who have seen this kind of content that was created by local stakeholders. And that really is the magic of these platforms. This is the magic of digital marketing that really works well. In the trainings, as I mentioned before, we trained 100 key stakeholders as multipliers and over 120 tourism professionals as content creators. So this is sort of what led to these numbers then. Yeah, I have to say we're really, really proud of what we achieved here. This is great. It went even better than we were hoping it would. And the things that you can look at now are quite amazing. We built an online portal for adventure travel in the Western Balkans called Wild Western Balkans. This is something that we hope to hand over to a local organization in the future. Currently, they don't have the resources for that, but we'll look into it. And it really gives you everything that you need as an adventure traveler if you want to travel to the Western Balkans. We also have, and I mentioned this before, this online portal for the High Scardas Trail, which is now in many ways considered one of the absolute best practices worldwide for how you can promote a long distance hiking trails. It gets shared over and over on LinkedIn. People talk about it. It was shown on several trade shows and several conferences. People really say that is how you promote, at least digitally, and how you display a long distance hiking trail. Relatively towards the end of the project, GIZ Macedonia, North Macedonia approached us and said, hey, we also have a lot of potential for wine tourism in the region. Could we try to use the same approach that we did for, you know, more the adventure tourism on wine tourism? We said, yeah, sure, we can give it a try. We built this portal, Balkan Wine Routes. Again, this is just a working title. We'd be more than happy to hand this over to a local organization. And we tried together with local partners to get a lot of the wineries on the platform. To be quite honest, the collaboration here didn't go quite as well as we were hoping for it to be. So we managed to create a good showcase of what are the opportunities and the possibilities, but we don't have too many of these wineries and wine offers on the platform right now. And this is, again, something that we can only encourage local partners to keep on working on. All of the resources are still there. Make use of them and continue on this path. And everything that you just saw on these individual portals, and that is the beauty of digital platforms, is now on the Outdoor Active platform, and it will remain there. The local stakeholders who created this content, they continue to have the ownership over it, but the reach will stay there. Even if we never work with anyone in the Western Balkans directly again, even if GIZ gets dissolved, even if, you know, the world changes in a way that we can't imagine, this content will still be there and it will remain to be seen. So this really generates this guarantees a sustainability of what we did, of what was achieved in the project. Whatever you see now, thanks to the digitalization efforts of the local partners, will remain online. And we all know that these worst case scenarios will hopefully not come. So this will happen anyway, and then all of the other things that will happen in terms of outdoor adventure tourism development and promotion in the Western Balkans will continue to create this kind of impact. If you go to outdooractive.com and you go to the travel guide, you can click through basically the Western Balkans as a whole, through every individual country, every municipality, every region, every mountain range, and you will find content in that area to really plan your trip, to execute the most amazing outdoor adventures in the region. It's all there. And all of these training resources that we created, the online courses, they are now available as open resources. So if anybody wants to use them to apply the approach to their region, technically you do not even have to talk to us. You can just use these online trainings. They are a full-blown course for content creation in adventure tourism, for digital marketing, and you can use them. Everybody. And they are being used. So we have several hundred clicks on all of these videos. We see that people actually engage with this content, and we see people, picking this up in many places of the world. Yeah, maybe a look into the future. What is the outlook? What happens next? I mentioned this, the capacity building measures, the training resources that we developed, they are openly available and they can be used by anyone. You can find them on the project page, so you'll see a link just in a little bit. And we are also happy to talk to anybody who wants to apply them to see if any synergies can be created. So this is something that all of you can use in the future. We also learned something during the project that sort of changed our mind on the whole situation a little bit, because as it was mentioned before, you know, donors like GIZ have been active in the region for a long time. So have other international organizations, and there were all of these different projects done. And while every or most of these individual projects were a success in itself, it still has led to a situation of a lot of fragmentation. And this sort of is what we were trying to pick up on during this project, is that we said, okay, all of these initiatives happened, all of these trails were developed, all of these trails were marked, all of these promotional materials were created, local brands were created, accommodations were supported, guides were supported, which is amazing in the whole run. But if it lacks the visibility, you know, we need to bring it together. And what still remains is the problem of organizational development. And that kind of shows that while these destinations have developed somewhat organically, we still see a situation in which all of these projects can always only cover a tiny bit of what is needed to make a destination, an emerging outdoor adventure tourism destination, an economic success, and for example, or most importantly, a resilient and sustainable success for the region. So in this project, we teamed up with two organizations that we have been in touch with for a while. One of them is Trail Angels, who developed the High Escarpment Trail. The other is Mascontour, one of the most renowned consultancy agencies in adventure tourism or in tourism in development cooperation. And we had all worked in the Balkans, we had all worked in other regions. We got together and we said, well, why don't we design sort of a toolbox for how we can develop adventure destinations, emerging adventure destinations in emerging regions and emerging economies and developing countries, sort of from scratch, in a holistic and a comprehensive concept that really leads to sustainable, resilient business models, so they can sustain themselves through organizational development, through product development, through adaptation mitigation of climate change, all of these things. And we call this the Remote Toolbox because we call ourselves the Remote Alliance. And if anybody on the call is interested in learning more about this, you can check out our website and you can get in touch with us, because we are super keen to bring our approaches to many regions of the world. So I think if anything that we're taking away from this project is that we really, really want to keep working on this, and that we, especially together with partners like Trail Angels, like Masscontour, like GIZ, we can really support the economic diversification and development of regions through outdoor and adventure tourism. And this might be my last important point. The approach that we developed and experimented with, that we tested, that we piloted in the Western Balkans is a scalable model. There are many, many emerging destinations in the world, regions and developing countries and emerging economies that could benefit from that very same approach. So this is something that we can only offer to everyone on the call. If you have ideas for a region where this should be implemented, if you know about an organization that can support with the funding of this, let's get in touch. Let's talk about this, and who knows? Maybe we'll start implementing this in Kyrgyzstan. Maybe we'll start implementing this in South America. Maybe we'll start implementing a similar approach in the Himalayas in the future. We've seen in this project that it works, and so we would really like to see more of that in the world, and we'd be happy to be a big part of this. So that is sort of the wrap up of the project. This is from the early stages of the project, from the first ideas of how we could overcome these challenges to sort of what we did and what was achieved with this. And before we move on to the Q&A, I have a little bit of a treat for you, because on one of our last trips to the project regions, we were accompanied by a videographer, and together with this videographer Christian and the local partners that we spoke to, we produced a little documentary film about the project. And if it's okay with you, I would like to show that film to you now. So get out the popcorn, get cozy, make yourself comfortable. Here is a little bit of a movie time for you.
How I would like to see the Western Balkans in the future. My big wish for the region is to see this region as a renowned destination for sustainable, responsible tourism.
Tourism role is very important to this region, especially sustainable tourism, because more and more people, local people, engaged.
One of the greatest things of Albania is having this still untouched experience and being this sleeping beauty of Europe, of the Balkans.
So about 4 years ago, we were approached by GIZ. They told us they had invested a lot into the development of outdoor and adventure tourism offers in Albania, in Kosovo, in North Macedonia, and Montenegro. But internationally, the region was not really seen as a destination for that. And we thought, well, there must be a way to change that. I'm Simon Reuter, and I manage research and collaboration projects for Outdoor-Active. Outdoor-Active is the world's leading platform for outdoor and adventure tourism. We have the most advanced digital features, both for outdoor enthusiasts and for those that develop and maintain the offers and services for adventure travelers. And as it turns out, we're also a great match for the Western Balkans, because
This region is an absolute paradise for adventure travel, but it lacks visibility on the international market. And we as a platform, well, we can give it that kind of reach.
In the past, we have invested quite a lot in developing small infrastructure, in developing of products, in developing of various touristic offers. But one of the biggest problems that we have here in the Balkans is visibility. My name is Anica Palazzo. I work for GIZ project, which is support to economic diversification of rural areas in Southeast Europe, Western Balkans 6, and I work in a position of advisor. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very proud that GIZ has been present in the region of Western Balkans for, let's say, 30 years. So basically what we are trying to do is we want to create opportunities for the local communities, to diversify their economy, to create income generating possibilities, new employments and so on. Not much has been done in the past to actually promote the region. We know the region has potential. When tourists come here, they say, wow.
Because many of the clients that we have here, they are quite in awe and surprised about the beauty of this country, and they wouldn't know about this if there wouldn't be some digital marketing. My name is Mirjeta. Right now we are in Kosovo, in the western part of Kosovo, in a village, a mountaineering village which is called Miliševci, which is also part of Peaks of the Balkans Trail. Like sometimes even a picture makes the difference, and people are like, wow, that's beautiful, I would like to see where is this place and visit it. So digital marketing, I think, is the key. We want this place to be well promoted.
The countries of the Western Balkans, for the most part, lack functioning destination management and marketing organizations. That means that the guides, the guest house owners, the tour operators, they are pretty much left to fend for themselves. So the question was, how can we support them to make their offers seen? And for us, the answer was capacity building. I mean, these are all highly trained professionals. They really know what they're doing, but that does not mean that they are automatically also going to be marketing pros. Through Outdooractive, every stakeholder can create and publish content that is potentially seen by millions of travelers. Yeah, so we organized workshops in the region to introduce local stakeholders to these platforms. We worked with them, we gave them access, we upskilled them in a number of trainings.
A big warm welcome.
We also organized a number of online courses so that we would reach more people, and we ended up training over 220 local drivers of adventure tourism.
I'm really impressed with the numbers that we reached in trained person to digitalize their tourism content, which can actually ensure some kind of sustainability, like we have the skills in the region.
I think the online platforms, digital marketing is very important. In this case, Outdooractive, which gives also additional information to the clients and people who want to visit and to see. Hi, my name is Bekim Bituce. Right now we are in Shaori National Park, so present Kosovo. For me, Outdooractive is very important, but also very flexible. I can use it even I'm on tour or being in office, so I can plan my tour with Outdooractive. It's helping me a lot. Example, I had a chance to put some, let's say, some sites like Mountain Hut, and people, it's visible so they can visit, and people are more and more having security in the trip.
One of my favorite things about Outdooractive is that it's very easy to be used and to create routes. You need approximately 10 to 15 minutes and you can make the product available to everyone. And as far as I know, it has also a lot of users, so meaning that you might have a lot of reach. My name is Rezeta Bare and we are in Tirana, the capital of Albania. UNESCO cycling route is cycling product of Albania. It's advisable to be done in 15 days. So you're going to have 15 days of struggling, but you're going to experience great food, great hospitality. So I had the information that this route existed, but it was accessible only to tour operators offering their private tours. We uploaded UNESCO cycling route in the outdoor active platform, and after that it was like promoted in a lot of magazines and tourism platforms. It also went twice in the New York Times and other magazines. And throughout that, we saw that the reach of the product through the link that was placed everywhere and was promoted, it went to 14,000 views and active users checking out the product. So the importance of the digital part is as important as the development of the product itself. You can have the most beautiful product in the world, but if no one can see it, no one can access it, then no one knows about it.
During the project period, thanks to the local and international tourism professionals, over 1,800 routes, so that's trails and activities, were digitized through the platform. And so were over 700 points of interest. You have to think that there now exists this full-blown virtual travel guide to outdoor tourism in the countries of the region, which is amazing. And this newly published content alone has created over 1 million page views already. That's just mind-blowing.
I think we have achieved many things. We have much more presence of tourism content digitally now.
This is a very important point, because that means that the recognition for the importance of our mountains and also the beauty of it doesn't come only for external, from outsiders, people who come, but also from local people, and this is very important.
This activity, outdoor hiking, but also others, are benefiting in two sides. Actually, for local people it gives some extra additional income, but people who are visiting this preserved nature and unspoiled can experience the nature and wildlife, but also diversity of this area.
I think we managed to create really nice synergies. Definitely demand is, for the Western Balkans is increasing, but we also see a new generation of people who are stakeholders, who are in tourism, who are really drivers of this. I think that the Balkans deserves to be discovered much more than it is now, because we have plenty of good things to offer, not just nature, culture, tradition and people, but also maybe to bring Europeans or other people from the Western countries, to bring them back to some kind of, to the roots, and to taste again like simplicity of life, real food and drinks. So I would like to see it as a place of happy tourists and happy local people.
Yeah, thank you for sticking with us. And a big thanks to the people who contributed to this film. I know that some of you are on the call right now as well, so I hope you're happy with what you're seeing. Yeah, it's a pleasure to share this with you. We will upload or share this video as a documentary in a little while through the social media channels, through YouTube, through the project website. We just might do a few more changes to it, a few tiny things that we want to change before we publish it. So this was the world premiere, and now will be the time for you to speak up. If you have any questions, comments, things that you want to share. We also still have our partners from GIZ on the call. We have Marina from Develop on the call. If you have any questions about the funding program, my colleague Dominic is here with us. So all you have to do is either raise your hand so that I can allow you to unmute yourself and turn on your camera, or you can put your question on the chat and then you can speak up. And I'm also going to stop sharing the screen for this so that we can really see each other and talk to each other. Do you have any questions or comments that you would like to share? So for those who are not so used to using Microsoft Teams, there's a little function called raise hand that you find at the top of your screen if you're joining from a computer, or at the bottom of your screen if you're joining from a mobile device. If you click on that, then I get a notification and I can see that you want to speak up. Okay. So we have Kate Clow on the call. Kate, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I have unmuted myself. Yeah, I'm calling in from Turkey. I want to ask about the geographical area that GIZ covers, because although I've heard of many GIZ programs in the Balkans and in Eastern Europe and so on, I don't know how far they go outside Europe. Can you give us any information on that?
If it's possible, I would like to hand this question over to, I think, Marina, would you be able to answer that question?
Sure, Simon. Hi, Kate. Nice to meet you. Yeah, actually, there is a lot of projects or still projects running in GIZ in Turkey. In the case of Develop PPP, there is unfortunately not possible for companies who want to implement projects on with Develop PPP to apply for our program. In the last years, the ministry decided to focus on certain countries, and that's the case that Turkey is not more eligible for the implementation, at least from Develop PPPs. But there are still colleagues and there are still some projects running there. I mean, Develop PPP is one of the plenty projects from the GIZ, and if you are interested in contact them, you can write me and I can get you in touch with them.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Can I ask if is there any overlap between any of your projects and the EU Mediterranean programs that are now being extended around the Eastern Med? Interreg.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, is there any overlap between GIZ projects and the Interreg projects, which are also concentrating on digitalization and climate change around the Eastern Mediterranean?
You mentioned sorry, keep going.
One of the things that was mentioned very much here was the difficulty of bringing projects together. There are different agencies implementing different projects in similar areas, but not the overlap between them not being managed very well. I wonder, do you have any overlap with any European Union projects?
There are for sure different different projects that they were overlap or where projects collaborate each other. I would propose maybe you can send me an email and then we can check on that and also discuss with the different country offices to give you proper information on that.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Brilliant, thank you. Anita, you're raising your hand. Do you want to comment on this?
Yes, Kate. Yes, thank you for the question. I sent a link for GIZ involvement in Turkey, so you can check into the chat box. And as for the next question, as it was said, we really try to have donor coordination meetings and to really inform each other and exchange on the activities that we are doing in planning and implementation of projects. So GIZ, yes, is working with other projects from other donors, including European Union, and we try as much as possible to be aware. And we can even say that not just that we are coordinating activities, but we are jointly sometimes implementing measures. So we do a joint implementation. So not easy, you're quite right. It's very challenging, but we make the best of it that we can to coordinate our actions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. I think we have time for one more question, maybe even two. So here's your chance to speak up. Well, raise your hand first. Yes. Yashana. Please go ahead.
Okay, sorry. You might have mentioned this during the presentation. It just didn't stick in my head. But from everything that you do and from knowing how all the effort and energy that Anita is putting into this, it is meant to be long term, not only the project, while the project support lasts. So, what would be the path to follow for those who are not involved in the project now, but are interested to be part of the effort and part of the platform, for them to reach out and participate? And it might be on the platform. I haven't had time to read all of it that is on it. So sorry if I'm asking something that's already known.
Thank you so much for the question. It is a very, that's an excellent question. And I did not mention that, but it's a very important point. So thanks for bringing that up. Technically, every professional stakeholder can use these out-directive features, can have access to the platform, and can contribute content without any costs and without even getting directly in touch with us. This is all automated. It's basically like signing up to, I don't know, Instagram or Facebook, if anybody still uses that. So you sign up, you create an account. In our case, there are a few more steps involved if you're representing a business, because you also need to represent your business and show that you're an official source, so to say. And through the training resources that are posted on the project website, there's basically a whole tutorial on how this can be done and how you can be a part of this. So even if you were not part of the original online trainings while they were happening live, you can rewatch them. There's also a condensed 1-hour version of it. So in case you don't have the full 9 hours and you don't want to be like a super elaborate content creator, but you just want to, learn a few more things and get started on the platform, you can watch that. It's, I think, 48 minutes webinar, and it explains everything that you need in order to get started on the platform and to start promoting your region through the platform. And you're actually going to have the same region impact as others, as long as you provide good quality content and you put a little bit of effort into it. But once you're used to it, we're literally talking 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour to promote a trail, to promote a point of interest. Point of interest is actually much quicker to upload your authors. So this is all possible. So anybody in the region, but even beyond the region, can participate and can still become a part of this.
Thank you. Great.
Perfect. And then I think we have Ekrem raising his hand.
Yes, Simon, thank you very much. Thank you, and also Dominic and the others for the presentations and the very nice insights. Speaking with the GIZ language, I would say we saw also a kind of positive unintended result that you joined the forces with the Trail Angels and the Mass Contour, and you built this alliance that you called Remote Alliance. And if I remember correctly, you said that you are willing to, let's say, upscale the achievements in other parts of the world. What about the region here? I mean, what about the Western Balkans? Because as Anissa said, and also you pointed out, and Mr. Oberhuber at the beginning as well, the Western Balkans offers a lot of, I mean, also for still, I mean, in terms of development and in terms of capacity development. Have you thought also somehow being or looking for opportunities here to be active as alliance, also in the region, in whatever mode of yes, engagement as a remote alliance?
Yeah, thank you for this question, Ekrem, and also thank you for all of your support for the project. So for those who don't know, Ekrem is with GIZ Kosovo and also in the CEDRA project, and he was a great help in many stages of the project. So the answer to your question is, first of all, yes, of course, we're exploring opportunities and we would love to continue in the region of the Western Balkans. As I mentioned, all partners of the Remote Alliance, so Trail Angels and Musculture, have also been active in the region before, so they have experience. We have a great local partner network now, because I also always believe it's very, very important to include local partners because they have the most local knowledge, and you do not need to bring in an outsider for a job that an insider can do. But yes, we are exploring these opportunities. The reality of these programs, and this is something that also needs to be mentioned, is that this Develop project, for example, for us was a great opportunity to get started in this region to develop all of these resources and tools. But we are a company, we are a for-profit company, and through a project like this, we do not make any profit. This costs us money. We spend money on this, but we do not make money. So in the long term, for us to be economically sustainable for ourselves, and the same is true for our partners like Trail and Musculture, we will need somebody who, you know, who tasks us with this, who contracts us for this, and who pays for the activities that we do. We provide a lot of open resource, a lot of free access, but in the end, if our workforce is involved, then we also need some money. So we will have to see whether a Develop is the right format for us to implement something like this in the Balkans again. But we are very, very open for any suggestions and ideas for any regions that want to approach us. It doesn't always have to be a huge project. It can also be a small thing. We are already working with several municipalities now in the region who have directly contacted us, who of course knew about us through the project, but now they've contacted us directly. So we work with Evčani in North Macedonia. We work with, for example, Kukës and some other municipalities in Albania. So this is already generating some momentum, and I hope this way or another we are going to stay present in the region. But when it comes to Remote Alliance, we're going to need somebody who contracts us for these activities, or a funding organization, a donor organization that says like, yeah, we really want to make this a reality, and then we hire you within the project. But when it comes to like upscaling this particular approach that we did in the OTDI-SEE, we would be open also to a new Develop, and we are already in talks with at least one bilateral GIZ project. I don't want to release that now because we don't want to make any promises, but this is something that we are willing to take to other parts of the world. So it doesn't make sense to do the same project again in the Balkans, and it also makes sense to adapt the approach to other regions. So it will not be the OTDI 2.0. It will be a new project with a new approach, but it will contain many of the same elements and hopefully generate a similar success. Does this answer your question, Ekrem?
Yes, very much. Thank you. Thank you, Simon.
Brilliant. We're a little bit over time already. So I'm just going to quickly answer the question of Dritan Shala on the chat. Thank you for the question, Dritan. Yes, you can use all of the learning resources that we uploaded to the project website. You can find it there. For any local projects, for any local implementations, we're actually really happy if this keeps getting used. I've already put the project website on the chat. You can also find it here on the slide again. You can scan the QR code. So anything that you're still interested in with the project, we will also continue to update the project website a little bit. We also share the recording of this event on the website, and we're going to share, of course, the documentary film that you saw earlier on this website as well. I think the last thing that remains for me to say is a big thank you. First of all, to everybody who was an integral part of this project. First of all, of course, my colleague Dominik Huber, but then also many other colleagues at Outeractive who did not get mentioned by name today, but who supported this project in so many ways. We're a big company with a lot of very skilled people, and it's amazing to have such a team that supports this. Big thank you to the bilateral GIZ project, to Anita, to Karin Rau, to Ekrem Hüseyni, to Irena, to all of your colleagues. It was a pleasure working with you. It was an absolute privilege. Thank you to GIZ in general, to the Develop project or program, to Marina for the great support throughout the project, and for making this a reality, to the German Ministry for funding this. And then, and this is probably the most important part, a big, big, big thank you to all of the people in the Western Balkans, to all of these stakeholders who have really been driving outdoor adventure tourism development. And I cannot stress this enough, but for me, this is still one of my favorite places in the world to visit. And this is thanks to the work that all of you have been doing long before this project, within this project, and you will continue to do in the future. So thank you so much to everyone in the Western Balkans, to everyone in all the parts of the world who make this a reality. And let's continue to work together to, make the world a better place through outdoor and adventure tourism, through trails, through time spent in nature. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me and the other people on the call, and have a great time.